Hello and welcome to the GMAT Advanced Target 700 series. This is the 22nd installment of the verbal series, which is aimed at helping you get your targeted score of 700 plus on the GMAT. Today we are going to see some more assumption questions. We saw some assumption questions in the last class. We also saw a lot of introductory as well as strengthening and weakening questions in the installments 15 to 20. And then we also saw a lot of reading comprehension tricks, solutions, and model questions from videos 1 to 15. So if you are interested in looking at the topics, you should go and revisit, or if you are coming to the course for the first time, you should go and visit these sections to get a better grasp of those topics. For today's questions, let's jump right in. Okay, so we are going to see another assumption question, and again, assumption very well intertwined with argument, right? Let's look at it. The question says that Gotland has long been narrowly self-sufficient. Okay, so narrowly self-sufficient in both grain and meat. So we know they produce grain and meat, and they are narrowly self-sufficient. Self-sufficient meaning they are able to produce whatever they want to consume. Okay, so they don't have to depend on imports. That is what is meant by self-sufficient. However, as per capita income in Gotland has risen towards the world average, per capita consumption of meat has also risen towards the world average. And it takes several pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of meat. Therefore, since the per capita income continues to rise, whereas domestic grain production will not increase, Scotland will soon have to import either grain or meat or both. Okay, so let's quickly look at the passage again, understand the key points. First thing, it is narrowly self-sufficient in both grain and meat. Okay, now per capita incomes have have been rising towards the world average, which means probably they were below the world average before. And when that increases, the per capita consumption of meat also increases. Okay, so it's kind of a sign of development that people consume, or you are able to afford more meat. Why? Because it takes several pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of meat. This is crucial. Okay, so probably you need 2 kgs of grains to produce 1 kg of meat, or 4 kg of grains to produce 1 kg of meat. Okay, so the meat will have a lot of calorific value in a smaller amount of mass as compared to grains, of course. Then it says, therefore, since the per capita income continues to rise, okay, so the per capita income is rising, which means people have more money to afford meat. Okay, whereas domestic grain production will not increase. So probably you have reached all your land capacity. How do you grow grain, right? It is a function of the amount of land you have. So if they are kind of at the optimum utilization levels, then you probably cannot increase the consumption of grain, and all of that grain will go towards creating the meat that people are wanting. So Gotland will soon have to import either grain or meat or both. Now let's look at the question. It says, which of the following is an assumption on which the argument depends? As I say in all questions, let's first isolate the argument. The argument here is that Gotland will soon have to import either grain or meat or both. Okay, so that is the argument. Let's look at the options. The first option says the total acreage devoted to grain production in Gotland will not decrease substantially. Okay, so if the total acreage, and acreage for all practical purposes means the amount of grain that you get per unit of land. Okay, if you are not going to decrease, if that is not going to decrease substantially, that does not change our status quo. Okay, so grains will continue to be produced, the acreage will not decrease, but because most people, they want to consume meat, they will also keep consuming meat. Okay, so this goes away. Option B says the population of Gotland has remained relatively constant during the country's years of growing prosperity. Now this is very, very irrelevant to the whole scheme of things. Why? Because even if the population remains constant, the dietary preference is changing. the constant population which was eating grains is now wanting to eat more meat, and we know for sure that it takes a lot more grain to create the similar pounds of meat. Hence, the population, if it is constant, it doesn't help our cause. Okay, let's look at the next one. Option C says the per capita consumption of meat in Gotland is roughly the same across all income levels. Again, very irrelevant. We are not talking about the consumption across income levels. How does income levels affect the whole argument? Okay, this is also out. Option D says in Gotland, neither meat nor grain is subject to government price controls. Again, we are talking right now about the demand. And the demand is certainly going up. Okay, even if there are government price controls or not, the demand is going up. And that is the primary issue. Okay, the argument is saying that you will have to import because the demand is going up and you simply can't cope up. Let's look at the next option. Option E says people in Gotland who increase their consumption of meat will not radically decrease their consumption of grain. Now, this is crucial. This talks about substitutability. Okay, so if let us say you are consuming grain and then you are also consuming meat, you are saying the consumption of meat is going up. It takes, let us say, 2 kgs of grain to create 1 kg of meat, and meat consumption is growing up. So you need for every 1 kg, you keep needing 2 kgs. Now, what will happen if somebody was eating 2 kgs of grain and he suddenly switches to eating just 1 kg of meat? There will be no imbalance, right? You were eating 2 kg of grain and now you are eating 1 kg of meat. But what this option says is that if people who are increasing their consumption of meat, they are not reducing their consumption of grain, which means earlier they were eating 2 kgs of grain. Now they are eating 2 kgs of grain plus 1 kg of meat. And what does this entail? 1 kg of meat is again 2 kg of grain, which means now you need 4 kgs of grain, right? So earlier you needed 2, now you need 4, which means there is no substitutability in both these products. It's not like people who are starting to eat meat are giving up on grain. If that happens, of course, it will not be sustainable, right? Hence, you will have to import either grain or meat. And that is one assumption on which our argument depends, that these two products, they are not substituting each other. In fact, the other product is, the demand for the other product is increasing, right? So option E becomes our answer. I hope you have been able to follow this. If not, you can again go through the passage at your own pace. You can also go at a slightly faster pace if you think that that matches your reading speed and your solving capability. Let's move on to the next one. This one says that most people can gain vitamin C from fruits such as oranges and cantaloupes. People with Lystrogonian disease have weakened digestive systems that cannot digest fruit or vitamin supplements. Okay, so most people get vitamin C from fruits. People with Lystrogonian disease have weakened digestive systems. Okay, so they cannot digest fruit or vitamin supplements. The easiest foods for these people to digest are grains such as rice and barley. So they can't digest fruit or they cannot digest supplement, but they can digest rice and barley. Regular intake of vitamin C would be extremely beneficial to the people who suffer from the Lystrogonian disease. Okay, so they need vitamin C, but they are not able to get it from the regular sources. So you have to somehow figure out a way to give them this particular vitamin, because not only is this disease preventing them from getting vitamin C, but vitamin C is also going to help them overcome this disease. Okay, so scientists have figured out a way to create fortified rice. Okay, fortified means food that has been Okay, food that has been added with vitamins and minerals. This is known as fortification. So let us say you have rice, you just add vitamins on top of it. Okay, or you'll have orange juice, you add vitamins to it, even if it has to be done artificially and not organically. Okay, with high doses of vitamin C. This fortified rice will provide great benefits to those with the disease. Okay, very straightforward. Let's look at the question. Which of the following is an assumption on which the conclusion depends? Again, let's isolate the conclusion. What is the conclusion? The conclusion is that fortified rice will provide great benefit to those with Leishmanian disease. This is the conclusion. Very clear. Okay. Now we have to find out an assumption which basically helps this conclusion. Let's look at the option. Option A says eventually this fortified rice will be the optimal way for most people to have a regular intake of vitamin C. See, this can be an assumption for a much larger point of view, but certainly not for this view. Okay, we need a slightly canonical option. Canonical in the sense we are only concerned with people who have this disease and whether fortified rice is going to do them great benefit. So this is out of scope for us. Let's look at option B. The problems that folks with Leishmanian disease have digesting fruit are different from their problems digesting vitamin supplements. This is totally off the chart. Okay, this is very off. We are not discussing what are the problems with digesting fruit versus what are the problems digesting food supplements. For all we know, food supplements and fruits and vitamin supplements, they can be clubbed together. Okay, so this is certainly not about that. Let's look at option C. It says people with the disease will not be unable. Okay, so whenever you, let us say, come across something like this, okay, be very careful about this because it says not be unable, which means there is a negative plus another negative. Okay, which means you have a positive. Not to be unable can be replaced by okay. Now read the sentence again. People with Leishmanian disease will be able to assimilate the form of vitamin C that is present in the fortified rice. Now, this is very, very important. You will administer them the rice, you will give them fortified rice, but whether they will be able to assimilate vitamin C because they are able to digest rice and barley. But if that rice and barley comes with vitamin C, will they be able to ingest that? Probably because of the disease, this whole fortification will not work. Right? So this is definitely an assumption that after we have fortified rice, people with this particular disease will be able to assimilate it. Okay, so this becomes a very good choice for our option. Let's look at the other options. Option D says only people whose diets consist largely of grains would be able to derive benefit from the vitamin C in the fortified rice. See, if this is the case, everybody who's here will probably get a benefit, right? But it says they would be able to derive benefit from the vitamin C in the fortified rice. So this is a good option. This could have been our option because it is saying nothing wrong. But option C is a much better option. Okay, so we cannot say this is useless. Of course, people whose diets consist largely of grains should be able to derive benefit, and that is a good thing. And if that is true, it actually helps our case. But it kind of reaffirms what we have been trying to say rather than support it from a different angle. All right. So I'm not going to say this is useless. This is one of those options in GMAT where the options are quite close to one another. But option C is, of course, a much better option. Let's look at option E. It says vitamin C is the only nutrient which can be infused into rice in such high quantities without compromising the nutritional integrity of the vitamin. Now this is completely off. We are not talking about vitamin C versus A, B, D. Okay, we are not talking about that. So just give me a moment. Sorry about that. Okay, so we are not talking about vitamin A, B, C, and the other vitamins. We are only concerned with vitamin C. So it does not really matter if vitamin C is the only nutrient, because that is the only nutrient which is of concern here. Okay, so option E also goes out. Our option is certainly option C. Okay, I hope you have been able to follow this as well. I'll do some more questions on assumptions before we can be certain about our prowess in assumption questions. For looking at the other questions, look at the coming videos on this particular series. Till that, keep preparing.